Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it feel the same if I saw you in heaven? We must be strong and carry on.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out in our community in East Brunswick. Thank you for coming to the Never Again EB for Safe Schools and East Brunswick Township sponsored event. At this time, I ask that you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and National Anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the Star-Spangled Banner. I welcome Kathy Spadafino and her choir and any children who know the words to the national anthem who would like to join us.
Just make a sip, right? All the way around. All the way around. Yes, now take 3 giant sips closer. Okay, move up. Really close. Oh. There you go. Ready, 1.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please welcome Rabbi Eisenkramer of Temple B'nai Shalom and Reverend Munoz from the Aldersgate Church. Thank you.
This evening, Reverend Munoz and I and our fellow clergy members stand as one. All of us at this vigil, men and women, grandparents, parents, and children, we all mourn those who were lost in Parkland and other school shootings around our country.
Our hearts break for those families. Our hearts break for those families who must live without a child or loved one, and the schools and communities that live in fear and need to rebuild their lives after such senseless acts.
This vigil is known as Beyond Thoughts and Prayers, for in response to Parkland, our thoughts and even our prayers are not always enough. On the Sabbath in the synagogue, we read the following meditation. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. In the Bible, we read, do not stand idly by. We cannot be bystanders.
For Christ followers, we must remember that even in the midst of such evil in the world, we are to keep faith like a child. For he has called even the youngest disciples to him, knowing that our young people possess a sense of purpose and drive that is often lost in age. It is in you that we give thanks to God, for your compassion and your willingness to be advocates for peace and justice in the world. We give thanks for a community willing to be challenged and willing to stand up for what is right. It is here where hope is found.
On the upcoming holiday of Passover, we sing the well-known hymn, Dayenu, It Would Have Been Enough. God, it would have been enough for us, yet you did more. But tonight, in the wake of Parkland, we say Dayenu, it is enough, we have had enough.
Throughout this season of Lent, as we reflect on our own time in the wilderness, we learn that God is with us even in the darkest moments of our lives, and that we are never alone. We know that throughout these times of sadness and deep despair, we are offered a peace that passes all understanding, a peace that begins with you and with me.
As we are together this evening, we know that our thoughts alone will not change our world. We know that our prayers alone will not solve these problems.
But we also know that God is with us all, those whose lives have been taken, those who have survived, and those of us who will continue to work toward safety and protection of our children, our schools, our houses of worship, and our community, young and old alike. We pray together this day that God uses each and every one of us to have the courage and the strength to face the future unafraid in order for us to stand up together.
Let us stand up for the children, and let us affirm that we will do our part to protect our community, our schools, and our world. May it be so. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Please help me and give a hand and welcome our mayor, Mayor Brad Cohen.
Thanks, Jeff.
Good evening. First, let me thank all of those who are part of the East Brunswick for Safe Schools who have put together this incredible program for you and for this evening. What I'd like to do is to start on discussing exactly why we're here tonight. This program was designed and dedicated to the memories of those who lost their lives at Parkland and any other senseless school shooting that's taken place in the last couple of years. And the purpose is to create a dialogue that we can continue and a conversation that we can continue beyond thoughts and prayers. That's the reason that we use that term. We have spent countless nights doing thoughts and prayers. It's time to move on. But we need to look at what we've learned so far from what unfortunately has unfolded before our eyes before we could really make constructive progress on any type of going forward. First, let me tell you a story. A young girl, September of 1980, in Irvine, Texas, lost her life. Her name was Carrie Leitner, and to a car accident. And at the end of the investigation, it was determined that that car accident was because of drunk driving. And her mother, Candace Leitner, took it upon herself to begin an organization now today known as MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and put together laws and rules and changes that ultimately resulted in less accidents, whether that was restrictions on who can get alcohol and the age limit on alcohol, restrictions on or an increase in police presence, the ability to spend a lot of time making sure that the laws were enforced. And at the end of the day, it reduced drunk driving accidents precipitously. But at the end of the day, we still have alcohol. We didn't have to give up alcohol. Cigarettes. In the 1980s and 90s, people finally began to recognize what we as physicians always had known, and that it was dangerous to your health, caused cancers and a whole bunch of other health concerns. And so people lobbied what we thought was an unbelievable cigarette lobby and Philip Morris, companies that we felt could never be touched. And yet at the end of the day, the science took over. And we were able to put laws in place that restricted who could get cigarettes. We put rules in place for public places so that it became difficult to smoke in public places. I remember as a youngster walking into a restaurant feeling like a leper because I didn't smoke, and all you had to do was cut through the smoke to get in to the restaurant. Today, it's completely the opposite. You're almost treated as a leper if you are a smoker. Ads and advertisements that were directed purposely at children are no longer legal. So we were able to accomplish great things, but we could still sell cigarettes. So I don't understand, really, why we can't ban assault weapons. There's no public purpose for assault weapons. I don't understand why we can't increase the age to buy a weapon. I don't understand why we can't prohibit the sale of bump stocks. I don't understand why we can't increase the ability to do background checks that would hopefully stop some of these things. You can do that, and that's not an infringement of your Second Amendment rights. We've also learned a lot about the people who perpetrate these crimes. They tend to follow the same type of profile. They're generally angry, young, white males. They're isolated. They have often been abused or bullied or a bullier or been bullied. They've often had interactions with mental health institutions or professionals, but not always. They often are those individuals who feel that society or government or some authority figure has left them behind, and they often find validation and acceptance in hate groups. We need to start talking to our kids, because in almost every instance of a school shooting, those kids knew who the perpetrator was ahead of time. They knew it. And we need to allow them to vent, to talk to us as to adults. We need to be able to report these type of incidences to responsible authorities who are trained, they are enabled, and they are empowered and accountable to do their jobs. We also need to spend a lot of time, while the media has descended upon East Brunswick over our more recent decision to add security to our public schools, we need to take advantage of that. That's why we're here today, hoping that they pick up on that. But unfortunately, I'm not happy to have to put or to encourage or to endorse increased security in the schools. We have no choice. My responsibility as mayor is the number one responsibility. I teach this when the third graders come up to school, come up to the municipality. The first thing I ask them, what is my number one responsibility? And they get it right. It is to make sure that every one of the 50,000 people that live in this town are safe and secure. That's my number one job. I'm sure that the mayor of Parkland didn't wake up on September 14th thinking that she was going to have every media descend upon her town with cameras and mics thrown in front of her face, trying to explain to everybody why the shooting happened in Parkland. Parkland's not that different demographically than East Brunswick. I don't want to be that mayor having to say that I didn't think that that could happen here, because we would be foolish to believe that. And that's why the measures are put in place. We can debate over what we do and how we do it, but unfortunately that has become a necessity in the day and the times in which we live. But now I want to address what I'm going to say specifically to our youth. Americans, if you study your American history, have always been social activists. We've been founded by people who were social activists. That's the story that they wrote. They put together a constitution and a Declaration of Independence. They were social activists, and they began the story, but it didn't end. We, throughout American history, have been good at social activism. It has made us a better country, whether that was abolitionists or civil rights activists, whether it was women's suffrage or women's rights, whether it was Vietnam or Watergate in the 60s and 70s, or whether it was gay rights in the 80s and 90s. I've been moved the last couple of days by the ability of youth to get out in front of the cameras and express themselves on this topic in such an eloquent and mature manner. This is your time. This is your issue, and we will support you. Social activist movements have always been led by young people who saw injustice or inequality, and they've felt empowered and emboldened and morally just as they fought for what we ultimately want as a more perfect union. That is their charge. This is your time, and this is going to be your fight. But if we are to get beyond the thoughts and the prayers, we must look to you. And you are responding to that call. But let us make no mistake. This will be hard. The opposition is very powerful, and they are very well funded. You will have to work really long. You will have to work hard, really hard. You're going to have to work relentlessly. You're going to have to work like you have never worked before. And you will have to work as if your very life depends upon it. Because quite frankly, it does. So I have faith in you. I know that all of your parents and those of you that are in this East Brunswick and surrounding communities have faith in you. So God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Mayor Cohen. I'd like to bring up, you know him on the robocalls, my favorite, Dr. Valesky.
Thank you to everyone from the community and all the students who participated in putting this together. Tonight, I deliberately didn't prepare any remarks. I want to speak to you from the heart. Do this. I want to speak from the heart. Is it better? Good. So let's just acknowledge that we shouldn't even be here tonight. There shouldn't be a reason for us to gather tonight, because there have been enough shootings in public schools that by now we should have solved this problem. And I speak to you not as your superintendent of schools, but as a father of a Virginia Tech graduate who was on campus the day of the shooting and was supposed to be in the building where the shooting occurred. And only because there was some divine intervention, which I believe that he did not get there, that I still have my son today. But there are many families without their children today. And we have to do something to keep this in the public consciousness. We have to keep the voices going. Because if we stop talking about it, people will perceive that we stopped caring about it. And our students will be the activists that will make this happen. But the adults have a huge responsibility, because we are responsible for running interference for them. And we've got to work together as a community with our legislators to try to make this happen, to demand that it happens, to demand what Mayor Cohen said, that semi-automatic weapons don't get in the hands of private citizens. They belong with law enforcement and the armed forces. And as a former Air Force veteran, I'm very comfortable saying that I don't have a need for a semi-automatic weapon, even though I think, as our constitutional right to bear arms, people would believe to differ with me on that. But those are personal choices, but we have to protect our children. My number one job in East Brunswick Public Schools has quickly shifted from being superintendent and worrying about education. My number one priority is worrying about safety and security, as all of my administrators are tasked with doing. Before we can start school, we have to make sure that our buildings are safe. And you know, as taxpayers in East Brunswick, I know you pay a premium to have your children attend these schools, and you came for the education. And I applaud you for your support of East Brunswick schools. And you may not agree with every single decision that either I or the Board of Education make. But you know, the other night, Thursday night, the Board of Education, after struggling with a decision about whether or not to place armed individuals in schools, they quickly realized that now was the time. And they didn't like the decision. It wasn't one they were happy about. This was one that was now required. And not that we want to be known for number one or number two. It's just not about being the safest school district. We have to be consistently the safest school district every single day. And I pledge to you that we're going to do that in cooperation with a tremendous East Brunswick Police Department, the mayor, and the Township Council. So thank you very much for coming out tonight. This support is going to mean a lot. It's going to be the catalyst to keep things going, but we have to keep that voice active and loud. And speaking of legislators, it's my pleasure to introduce Assemblywoman Nancy Pinkham.
Should I take it out?
Yeah, it's easy.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So what can we do about this? I just want you to know that in the legislature, during the past 8 years, many gun bills were passed through the Assembly and the Senate, but many of them were rejected by the governor. He did pass one or two of them, but we've been working hard to make sure that we can be as safe as we can, and New Jersey does have some of the best gun laws in the country. So the right now you're seeing many gun bills go forward that were rejected by Governor Christie, and in fact on Wednesday there's going to be a hearing to pass some of the additional gun bills that were not approved previously. So that hearing is going to be at the State House at 11 a.m. in Committee Room 11. If people want to go, that would be great to have that support. They include bills to establish a commission to approve personalized handguns. And by the way, in New Jersey, we approved what we call smart gun technology years ago. And what happened was, so this was a bill that has fingerprint so that no one else can use that gun. But the gun industry said anybody that sells that smart gun technology would be blackballed so that no one would do it. And that, in fact, is exactly what happened. But it does exist, and that would be at least somewhat helpful. The other bill would require a background check for private gun sales. Everybody knows that we have background checks for guns that are bought at stores but not privately, and that's a huge loophole. Many of the guns are sold privately between individuals or at gun sales, gun shows. Also codifies the regulation that defines a justifiable need to carry handguns. One of the things that people want to see is that the federal government is saying that concealed handguns, if a state says that guns will be allowed to be, will be prohibited from being allowed to carry a concealed weapon, that federal rule will overturn that, and you can go across any state, even if we have stronger laws than that. People from a state that has a weaker law would be able to come into New Jersey, and we would have to honor that law, something that we oppose very strongly. And also, another bill that will be up on Wednesday is prohibiting the possession of ammunition capable of penetrating the body armor. And the last bill that's going to be coming up is reducing the maximum capacity of ammunition from 10 rounds, so that would be the most. So those are the bills that we're working on currently. The other thing that's happening, I think, which is helpful, is the governors of a number of states are going to be getting together from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and that are going to share intelligence and database, just like they're doing now with the opioids, so that at least if we can't get the whole nation to work together, the states that are taking positive action can work together, and we can start to build that bigger coalition and start to move that needle further down the line. And I agree with Dr. Brad Cohen, Mayor Cohen, who said that this time, if we can get the youth to be engaged and to make a difference, maybe we have a prayer of a chance of making change. Thank you.
As Nancy Pinkin said, that this movement is led by the kids. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to them. Jolie Orman.
To honor those recently lost, students from East Brunswick will be reciting the names of those lost last Wednesday.
Alyssa Alhadeth, age 14.
Elena Petty, age 14.
Jamie Gutenberg, age 14.
Nicholas Dore, age 17.
Kara Loughran, age 14.
Joaquin Oliver, age 17.
Peter Wang, age 15.
Aaron Feiss, age 37.
Meadow Pollock, age 18.
Luke Hoyer, age 15.
Christopher Hickson, age 49.
Carmen Shentrup, age 16.
Mark Duque Anguiano, age 15.
Alex Schachter, age 14.
Helena Ramsey, age 17.
Gina Montalto, age 14.
Scott Beagle, age 35.
It is now time to take 17 seconds to mourn the 17 innocent lives lost, as well as the other thousands of individuals who have lost their lives to senseless gun violence. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Jolie Harmon and I'm a sophomore at East Brunswick High School. Last Wednesday started out as any normal day for me. Like usual, it took me half an hour to get out of bed in the morning, later had a chemistry quiz and had lacrosse practice after school. However, it turns out to be anything but normal for me. Normally, my mom picked me up from lacrosse. She says, "How was school?" I say fine, discussion over. But last Wednesday, my mom picked me up with tears in her eyes. She had told me how a school shooter had shot up a school and kids were still inside. And then she told me it was one of my best friend's schools. And my heart sank. Thankfully, my mom had gotten in touch with my friend's family and knew of her safety. However, there were still kids inside and we did not know the extent of the massacre. Before knowing of her safety, I asked, "Is Sophie okay?" Looking back, what did I mean by asking if she was okay? Who can ever be okay after this tragedy? And will she ever be okay again? I really don't know. No one should ever have to survive this, and no one should ever have to ask if their best friend was shot during the school day. I should not be fearful every day for my life, my peers should not be fearful every day for their life, and our parents and guardians should not be fearful to send their children to school, a concert, a movie theater, or mall. I applaud East Brunswick High School and I applaud East Brunswick administration for their effort to ensure safety in all East Brunswick schools. I respect the decision to place armed guards in our schools, but am angry that it has to come to this. My generation has grown up with lockdowns and active shooter drills. During the drill, we sit close together, away from a window or door, hoping that we are not the next school that this will happen in. In the days that followed the Parkland massacre, I thought about what I could do to turn my anger into action. From this, I decided to write up a proposal to the Board of Education requesting permission to start a club in which students like me debate and understand current events. I want kids to know that they have a voice. We will talk about politicians and what they support. This club will also give students an opportunity to create an educated, informed opinion on controversial topics. We are 1, 2, or 3 years away from voting age and can no longer accept the status quo. My generation has a voice, and we need to use it. Thank you to the Parkland survivors who created the Never Again movement and taught my peers and I the power of our own voice. I am amazed, but not surprised, at the accomplishments and progress that they have achieved already, and know that here in East Brunswick we can do the same. I am honored to be a part of this event, and I am so thankful to see so many of you here. Together, we will make a difference. We have to make a difference. The day we stop fighting will be the day no child dies at a school. I want to end with this. As much negativity as one person can inflict in a country, we all have that same amount of power to inflict the opposite. We need to work together for a positive change in the schools, town, and in our country. We are stronger together. Never again. I now introduce Vanessa Russo.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Russo. I'm a sophomore here and my life has recently been changed. I've always considered myself an activist and stood up for social justice. But it seems 2018 is the year that I'm not the only one. So many students have come together to make a difference about this, not only here but all across the country. We know that we shouldn't have to be scared to come to school. There's no reason I should fear for my life when I walk into a building I previously thought was safe. Or worry that if I fight my dad the night before school one day, it's going to be the last thing I say to him. This movement is powerful because the young are running it. I was at work folding silverware when I heard about the shooting on the news. I was immediately angry, thinking, how many times can this happen before someone does something? And my second thought was, I need to do something. I feel a personal responsibility to make a change in America, and that's what a lot of young people are experiencing. That's why so many of us are coming together and pairing with supporting adults to make a real difference. Here in East Brunswick on March 14th, we're having a walkout to show solidarity. And on March 24th, there's a March for Our Lives in DC by the Stoneman Douglas High School students, which I'm excited to attend, even though I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to go protest so that I can walk into school every day and not fear for my life. This generation is not tolerating antiquated legislature. I'm fighting for better gun control. I'm fighting for better mental health outreach. I'm fighting to fix the broken systems in this country. The Never Again movement exists as a catalyst for change, and I plan to take advantage of that. Keep fighting, everyone, because we can make a difference. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Let's make this shooting the last. Next, Jillian Fumero will be speaking.
Good evening. My name is Jillian Fumero. Good evening. My name is Jillian Fumero, and I am a junior at East Brunswick High School. It makes me so happy to see all the people gathered here today to show their support.
I first want to send my deepest condolences to the family and friends directly affected by the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting that took place on February 14th. On that day, not only did we lose 17 innocent lives, but as a student, a sense of security within our schools is also lost forever. Our parents can no longer send their children to school without feeling insecure that they're safe. I am deeply proud of the East Brunswick School District for taking initiative by having armed guards in our school to protect us from potential threats. Whether you agree or disagree, this is not a permanent solution, and we cannot rely on this new normal to keep us safe. As a community, we need to do our part together to make a change, starting in the schools, to the town, to the state, and to the nation. I am one of many students in the high school working together to come up with a solution to lead the nation in the right direction of making a change in gun control. Although we may be too young to vote, we are not too young to join and take a stand. The youth is coming together and creating a force too strong for politicians to ignore. Everybody's voice counts, and the more voices involved, the more powerful we will become. With the help of Dr. Valesky, organizations like EB for Safe Schools, and any adults willing to help lead the way, the youth can rise up and lead the movement. I have never felt more proud to be part of the community that empowers and encourages the voice of the youth. Together, we can all make a difference in our generation and all the generations to come. Thank you, East Brunswick for Safe Schools, and thank you for everyone coming to support and honor those in Parkland, Florida during this tragic time. Thank you.
My name is Nikhil Southerngani. I'm a senior at East Brunswick High School, and I'm honored to be speaking to you here today. Los Angeles, Italy, Benton, Nashville, Winston-Salem, Oxon Hill, Philadelphia, and Parkland. There have been 8 school shootings in 2018 alone. 8 towns who have had their worlds turned upside down. Countless families who have suffered such a horrible tragedy. I read a story on Twitter the other day about a girl who asked her mother for new shoes, not because they were worn out or because she was being bullied by other kids, but because she was afraid that if there was a shooter in her school, the light-up sneakers would make her a target. It is heartbreaking that any child should have to worry about that, rather than worry about what game they're going to play at recess. Students should focus on learning and preparing for their future, not where to hide if someone enters the building. Teachers should think about teaching, not having to take a bullet for one of their students. Having grown up in East Brunswick all my life, going from Chittick to Hammersholt to Churchill and finally being a senior here at the high school, there's not been a single day where I felt afraid to walk into school. But I'm positive that's how the kids at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida felt too. They, like us, never thought they would suffer what they're going through right now. They, like us, grew up in one of the safest parts of their state. They, like us, are wondering what they can do to make a change. It may seem impossible, especially for my fellow students and I being so young, but youth should not be an excuse for inaction. Realistically, we may not be able to write laws or run for office or protest, but there is one thing we can do: vote. Participating in the IPPL and Model UN programs here at EBHS have taught me that if you speak up, someone will listen. We can choose who writes the laws. We can choose who will be discussing the issues in Congress, and we can choose to make a change. We need not just voters, but educated voters who can vote for that change and put powers in the hands of those that will keep us safe. The 26th Amendment reads, "The rights of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of age." Youth should not be an excuse for inaction. If we, the youth, take action, we can put an end to this and ensure that none of us have to speak about this ever again. As a part of the age group that votes the least, I urge you, my fellow students and town members, to change that and vote to keep schools safe and prevent a tragedy like this from happening ever again. Thank you.
Thank you, students. This is who it's all about. And we reflect on what had happened last week and what's happened for the last 19 years. And I'd like to invite up Kathleen L., who will play a song that was written for other reasons, but is very appropriate for this day.
Before I start, I just wanted to say, super proud, especially of all of the East Brunswick kids that got up here to speak. I am, yeah, they did a great job. I am a recent EB alum. I go to Rutgers now. My major is in music education. And just to see the support of my town, my hometown, for something that realistically is far away but hits so close to home is very touching. So thank you guys for all your support in this. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it feel the same if I saw you in heaven? We must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know you don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? Through night and day, I'll find my way, 'cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. Time can break you down, and time can bend your knees. Time can break your heart and have you begging please, begging please. Beyond the door, there's hope, I'm sure, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven.
This poem was written by the mom of a Parkland survivor. It was 17 mornings like any other, 17 mornings, snoozes, and then another, 17 breakfasts on the go, 17 byes, promising hello, 17 bodies in sleepy motion, 17 minds embracing commotion. But then, 17 bullets destroyed sweet dreams, 17 bullets fueled our screams, 17 detonated young lives, 17 bullets stabbed hearts like knives, 17 bullets swelled our tears, and 17 bullets rippled our fears. So now, 17 families are stunned tonight, and 17 moms can't hold them tight. 17 byes will sting the air, and 17 homes with an empty chair. 17 bullets battled the God that we trust, and 17 hearts returned to dust.
My name is Dana Winston. After the Parkland murders, my friend Jen Harmon and I were fed up with feeling powerless and hopeless against the increase in gun violence in our schools and our society as a whole. We were tired of debating with people who kept telling us there was nothing we could do, that no matter what we tried to fight or change, that nothing would come of it. We were told we should learn to toughen up our children and learn to accept our new reality. How cynical is a society that prefers to throw up their hands and simply watch their fellow citizens and children be ruthlessly and violently shot while they pull the covers over their eyes and convince themselves that it could never happen here? Time and history have proven it can happen anywhere. Refusing to succumb to the numbness of the normalization of gun violence, together with other hopeful parents who believe that there is much that we can do, we formed our group, EB for Safe Schools. We are concerned citizens committed to ensuring our schools are safe from the threat of gun violence. We are comprised of students, parents, and non-parents. We welcome all political affiliations and backgrounds with a common goal of finding solutions to the problem of school gun attacks, including physical security, bullying intervention, mental health counseling, peer reporting, and legislation to guarantee our children a safe learning environment. Children, students, you are all beautiful and you are all valuable. We love you so much. You matter. East Brunswick, we are a diverse and fantastic town of families and citizens who care about our culture and what happens here. If you are ready to make meaningful change, join us at EB for Safe Schools. You'll find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and around town. Thank you. Let's make a difference.
Thank you, Dana and Jen. What Dana didn't say is I'm her worker bee husband here this evening. And prior to last week, Dana and I were just simply parents of 5 kids in the system, each of them at different levels. We have a high schooler, a middle schooler, a junior high schooler, and 2 elementary schoolers, and a full liquor cabinet. But with that said, and again, all joking aside, I have a few words I'd just like to say. That after what happened last week, I think the thing I heard on the news most, especially after East Brunswick went ahead and put officers in the school, what it was a knee-jerk reaction. That's what they've been saying all week about the vigils around the country. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Then the narrative shifts to finger-pointing. Is the government doing enough? Is the NRA the villain? Is the mental health system failing? Are the laws too lax? It's enough to make your head spin. It spins and spins until you get to the point that you forget how we got here in the first place. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's an issue that's been nearly 20 years in the making. It's been 20 years since Columbine. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And what that taught us most on that day, that our most precious resource was under attack, it's been thrown in our face as parents, friends, relatives, and teachers over and over again, and I am tired of it. That we do not know that when our child says goodbye and gets on a bus, is dropped off at school, that same routine will not be possible tomorrow. Nearly 20 years has taught us that I love you is the most important thing you could tell your kid every single day, for the simple reason that you can, and it's important that they know. And love does not come cheap. The hugs and the 3 words, I love you, that's the easy part. The hard part is reassuring them that the world is not an ugly place. In fact, it's still filled with wonder and dreams. Love now means that you advocate for their safety, not only on a bike or a skateboard, but when they journey to their first period class. What a shame. We love them by speaking to school administrators, community leaders, the clergy, and anyone else who is willing to put some skin in the game in protecting the well-being of our children. This is not a knee-jerk reaction. In fact, after 20 years brewing, it's taken far too long. But this day has come, a day where things that we parents haven't been able to accomplish are now being led by a youth movement reminiscent of Vietnam and the civil rights days. We can't give our children their peace of mind, as we have heard clearly here today, then they are going to take it back themselves. They do this because we love them. Our mission at East Brunswick for Safe Schools is to provide a platform for those who either are children or love their children. Our group is your group. We love our East Brunswick children, and we want them to live in peace. Today is their day, and we hear their voices. We see their action, and we are here for you. Parents, love your children. Cherish your children. Love each other. Children, love each other. Put down your phones and speak to each other. Let no fellow student eat alone. Help those who need help, and just be sensitive. I leave you with this, and it's very simple. Love each other, love each other, love each other. Thank you. We're going to be joined by our choir again in the singing of God Bless America. Following that, our program will essentially conclude. On that table is a banner. Parkland has requested that we all sign this banner and send it to them as a welcome back gift. Tomorrow it will be overnighted to them, and it will be on their desk on Tuesday morning. The vote, say again? Only together, sir, we can make a difference.
Love thy neighbor.
Everybody knows these words. God bless America.
I know. Here we go.
Kath, hold.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. There's a voter registration table. If you are 17 years old, it is time to register to vote. You are allowed. You can't vote yet, but when you turn 18, you can. Stop by, please sign the banner. And thank you all. East Brunswick, strong.